Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So inshallah, moving on to two more terms. These are not necessarily new, but just overlap of the previous things we mentioned before. So in this lesson, you have the word musnad and you have the word muttasil. And muttasil came before. What does muttasil mean? The chain is sound. How does the chain sound? Meaning it's what? Link. There are no missing links in between. Correct? And musnad is a new term here to mention. Okay? So look at this link. Look at this chain here. Remember this? We know the chain. Al-Shafi'i, and Malik, and Nafi, and Abdullah ibn Umar, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال. Okay. Now, what we have here now, what's wrong with this chain here? What's wrong with this chain? Part of it missing. Who's missing from here? Nafi is missing. So what do we call this? If a person is missing from the chain, this kind of chain is this. The chain is what? The chain is munqati'. Correct? So from the aspect of it being linked together, is it muttasil or munqati'? This chain is munqati'. And in terms of the last person, who's the last person in the hadith, in the chain? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in this aspect, what is it? Marfu, mawquf, or maqtu'? It's marfu, correct, it's marfu. So it's marfu, yet it's munqati'. Because marfu is like ism. Is it ma'rifah or mudhakkar? Well, they're both different aspects. Munqati' has to do with the chain being linked and no breakage in between. And marfu, maqtu, marfu, mawquf, and maqtu has to do with who is the last person in the chain. So this hadith has two aspects. In terms of the last person, it's marfu. In terms of the chain being broken or not broken, it's munqati'. Yes, correct? Everybody following that? Yes? So far, so good? Yeah. The next chain. Tell me what this chain is now. You have Haddathana al-Shafi'i, and Malik, Nafi, Abdullah ibn Umar. What's this hadith? Both aspects. So marfu, mawquf, maqtu aspect. What is it going to be? Yes, good. Online. What is it going to be? Mawquf, correct. And is it muttasil? Is anybody missing in this chain? No. So it's muttasil. It's mawquf and it's muttasil. What about the third chain? حدثنا الشافعي عن مالك عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. What is this hadith going to be? It's marfu and muttasil or munqati'? Muttasil. So it's marfu and muttasil. If it's marfu and muttasil, you call it musnad. You understand? If it has both aspects, there's no breakage in the chain. There's no breakage in the chain. And the last person at the end is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's marfu and muttasil. If it has both these qualities, what do you call it? A hadith, a sanadun musnadun. It's called musnad, hadithun musnadun. It's marfu and muttasil. So instead of having two names for it, this is the ideal, isn't it? It's Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam statement and there's no breakage in the chain. So then these two together called what? Hadithun musnadun. Does that make sense? So we know what muttasil means from previous lessons. And now musnad is when it's muttasil and marfu. You understand? Okay. So we say والمسند المتصل الإسناد من المسند المتصل that's مبتدا. A musnad muttasil is what? Al-isnad is a chain or narration. It's a narration or a chain. Min rawihi, from the first narrator, from Shafi'i. Yes? From a Shafi'i. So min rawihi, from its narrator, hatta al-Mustafa, until the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Mustafa, the chosen, selected, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Mustafa refers to whom? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the musnad muttasil is a narration or a chain min rawihi, from its first narrator, from Shafi or Bukhari or Muslim, hatta al-Mustafa, until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's what? Marfu. Correct? Walam yabin. Bana yabinu, to break, to be separate, have a breakage in between, to be different. Walam yabin, and there's no breakage in between. So meaning what? It's what? So basically mean, so basically saying here what? So this part implies what? It's marfu' and it's not munqati'. And not munqati'. And not munqati'. Understood? Do you got it? Do you understand? So the new word that we've learned here today is what? Just the musnad. We knew muttasil from before anyways. So this is line number 8 in our poem. والمسند المتصل الإسناد من. A musnad muttasil is a narration or a chain from the narrator from the beginning. حتى المصطفى until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ولم يبن, and there's no breakage in between. That's called a musnad. Understood? Are you following? And now here, we've got now here, he's explaining muttasil. What's he explaining now here? Muttasil. وَمَا بِسَمْءِ كُلِّ رَاوٍ. And that, via سَمْءِ كُلِّ رَاوٍ. And that hadith, he said, that hadith, yes, يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ, whose chain has been linked, and this sam'i is like the hal of this yattasil. This is the hal, is ba fahaliya, yattasil. So وَمَا يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ بِسَمْءِ كُلِّ رَاوٍ فَالْمُتَّصِلْ. You understand? And what that hadith, whose chain is linked. How is it linked? By each person hearing from the other person. Meaning there's no breakage. Shafi'i heard from Malik, Malik heard from Nafi, Nafi heard from Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yes? You following? So if you have this, what do you have? You have this. Sam'i kulli rawin. Every narrator has heard from the one above him. So that وَمَا يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ. وَمَا يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ. And that hadith whose chain is linked, how? With the hearing of each person from one above him. فَالْمُتَّصِل. Then the hadith is called what? Muttasil. This word Mustafa is not, just ignore that. That word Mustafa shouldn't be here. Meaning it's supposed to be in the poem, etc. But that's not part of the definition. Because you have a Muttasil, which is a mawquf as well, isn't it? You have a Muttasil, which is what? Maqtu as well. So the Mustafa is not, so don't consider this. Remember, in line number 9 of the poem, the word Lil Mustafa. In line number 8, the Mustafa is right, because it has to be, Musnad has to be marfu, so Lil Mustafa. But in line number 9, the word Mustafa is not necessarily there. That's, maybe he has his own definition, but that's not the standard. Okay? So here we say Muttasil is basically where a person narrates by hearing from somebody else. And it doesn't have to be Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It can be to a sahabi radiallahu anhu, a tabi'i. So Muttasil doesn't have to do with the marfu, mawquf, maqtu. Do you understand? Everybody following me online? Yeah? Yes? Everybody following? Any questions? Okay. So line number 9. وَمَا, I'm going to translate, وَمَا يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ. And that hadith whose chain is via the hearing of every rawi, every narrator. Meaning every narrator has heard from the one above him. What's that going to be called? فَالْمُتَّصِل. That is a muttasil. So a muttasil is ma yattasil isnaduhu bisam'i kulli rawin. وَمَا يَتَّصِل إِسْنَادُهُ بِسَمْءِ كُلِّ رَاوٍ. And that hadith which has been, it is joined, is linked, whose sanad is linked via the hearing of every rawi from the one above him. That is called hadithun muttasilun. Understood? Is that clear? Okay. So let's quickly recap now. What is a hadith? What is a hadith made up of? A matn and a sanad. Correct? What is a sanad? Chain of narrators. And the actual matn is what? The text. Now, according to the hadith being sahih, bi'tibari siha. Remember in nouns we had what? Ding, definite, indefinite, i'rab, number, gender. So even the hadith has to make up a code later on, but it's different aspects. So from the aspect of the hadith being sahih or da'if or hasan, I did give you an answer. In terms of the hadith being sahih, what are the three types of hadith? What are the three types of hadith? G. I just said it, but it's clear for this. G, what is it? Sahih. What are the conditions of sahih? How many conditions are there altogether? 5 conditions. What are the 5 conditions? The sanad must be muttasil. Good. Then each rawi must have adala and dhabt. And then the sanad, they must not have what? Illa or shudud. What does sanad muttasil mean? What does sanad muttasil mean? The chain is unbroken. Adal mean? What does adal mean? Adala or adal? Credibility. Good. What does dhabt mean? Dhabt means he got memory, preservation. From their biographies, we can tell that they are able to preserve either by writing or memory the hadith correctly. And there's no shudud. What does shudud means? It doesn't contradict anything more strong, anything more valid, anything with more credibility. And illah, what does illah mean? There's no hidden defect. And if the sanad is not muttasil, what's it called? Well, what's it kind of called? What's the name of it? Munqati'. Okay? So these are the 5 conditions for a hadith to be sahih. When does it become, what's the next level after sahih? Hasan. When does it become hasan? When the dhabt is not high, grade A, the dhabt is what? Grade B. And what's the proper name for the grade B dhabt? Khafif al-dhabt. The dhabt is khafif, slightly light. And if it's grade C dhabt, or any of the other things have a fault, what do we call this? Hadithun da'ifun. Do you understand? So these are the 3 categorizations based according to being sahih or not sahih. According to who the man udhifa ilay, the one whom is attributed to a hadith, according to whom it's attributed to. How many categories can we have? 3. What are the 3? What are the 3? Marfu, good. Mawquf and maqtu'. What does marfu mean? The chain of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you have hadith marfu', it means that it's a Prophet's statement, his saying. That's hadithun marfu'un. Right? And next one is what? Hadithun mawqufun. What does that mean? The chain of the Sahabi. The Sahabi said something, the Sahabi done something. And maqtu', the chain end of a tabi'i. Correct? You got it? Yes? Good. And what's a musnad? What's a musnad? When hadith is marfu and muttasil both, then they call it musnad. You understand? So basically an overlap of 2 categorizations. When it's what? In the first categorization is muttasil. In terms of the connectivity of the chain, is muttasil. And in terms of the whom is attributed to is marfu. So then for that you have one name called hadithun musnad. Understood? So let's stop here today, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.